What's up, peoples? All right, so I decided I'd be a little bit more engaging this time. I watched my previous video and I do realize that I'm in a dungeon. As you can see, this is the dungeon. This is where all my automotive ideas fester. That's what you want to call it. The last discussion we had was the 2024-2025 Mustang flop. Well, you either like the cars or you don't. Me personally, not my cup of tea. This video's discussion is going to be 5.0, New Age 5.0 versus Pushrod 5.0. Now, make sure, if you have a comment, if you watch the video, leave a comment. I do go look at the comments, and it doesn't matter if they're negative or not. This is a discussion, so nothing is negative because it's your opinion. This is my opinion of what I like, and that'll be your opinion of whether you like which one of them you like the most. And I can accept anybody's opinion because that's what it is. I mean, we ain't gonna always agree on what we like because everybody likes different things. It's like some people saying, well, you know what? I don't like Chevrolets and I don't like Dodges. And okay, you're whatever you choose to be, or you're an import guy. Great, lovely. Moving on. All right. Now, the discussion about Pushrod versus modular, which is basically the 32 valve 5.0 is a modular engine. It's been modular since 1996. 96 they came out with a modular design. You really want to know where the modular design came from? It's European. This is my take on it. You can take it any way you want. Look at Ferrari. Ferrari's V8. Ferrari's V8 is modular. 32 valves. It screams. Most of the Ferraris are high-end in motors. They're the most powerful ones aren't turbocharged. They're naturally aspirated, which they got a whole different MO. See, you're gonna put a naturally aspirated modular engine in a car that costs $300,000 or $400,000. Now you're not gonna do that with a Ford product because number one, they're cookie cutters. Okay, they're building a car that they might make 2 million of, if they even get that far, $1 million, $1.5 million, $1.4 million, whatever, and then they're gonna sell these cars. So that means the manufacturing process has got to be one that can be replicated without a whole lot of problems. Now, Ferraris aren't built that way. Let's be realistic. But you can take a design architecture and you can duplicate it and change a few things to meet what you want it to meet the standards, and still get your point across. Now, 1996, the modular, it actually sounded decent. I mean, you went over there and they put nice stainless steel exhaust on it from the factory, and those pipes talked, and it talked good. 215 horsepower didn't sound like a whole lot in 1996, but in reality, 1993, your car made 225. And it didn't matter. It would outrun a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, granted, 225 in that car worked. Fast forward to 1996, the car weighs more. Yeah. 1994, last year for the Pushrod motor, car weighed more. It was running the Pushrod motor. Still making 225. Then 1996 rolls around and the car is dialed back. But it's got a new motor. Okay? You had to get used to the new motor. Now, when the Cobra came out, 32 valves, 285 cubic inches, 305 horsepower. It sounded like a lot back then. That was back then. That was the top dog, and it would run. If you had any kind of muscle Mustangs, fast forward kind of magazines, they were supercharging them, putting nitrous on them, and all that stuff, and they were kicking butt, and they sounded good. 4 cams, the most aggressive cam design Ford had ever used. Those 4 cams were something. Of course, the Mark 8 had the same 32 valve engine. Not as aggressive cams, but that Mark 8 wasn't no joke. I mean, you seen the commercial, if you were around at that time, where they had the Mark 8 in the desert. They started about a mile away. Now this car, the faster it got, the lower it got. Yeah, so they pulled it up to a bar, it touched the bar. Turned around, went back, came back through about 100 miles an hour, went right under the bar. It's because the car lowered itself. That's that technology. Me, it was good. It was cool. I mean, it was neat when they did it. But you got to think about that now. Where are all the Mark 8s now? You don't even see them. I've seen some prime examples of Mark 8s that look like brand new cars. They took care of them. Beautiful. Where are they now? If they didn't get pilfered for their motors, I'll give you this one. The motor in my car, now granted, where'd I get that from? I got the heads off of a Mark 8. So when I put the black car together, 32 valves, the motor was shot. So I got a set of heads off a 60,000 mile Mark 8 that caught on fire. Don't ask me why it caught on fire, but it did. Put that together, and then, that whole combination was great. We'll get into what was in the black car some other time. Irrelevant at this point, but that was the top of the line. That was the top of the top dog. 32 valve, double overhead cam, 305 horsepower. You wanted the bad boy, that's what you got. $28,000. All right. Now, fast forward to 2011. 5-liter comes back out. It's 32 valves. It's double overhead cams. It makes 420 horsepower. Ooh, here we go. Now we're talking. Game changer. See, put a 5-liter back in, and see now the Chevy boys are like, oh, well, here we go. They're up in the ante. They're up in the game again. Well, yeah, we upped the game. Ford never upped the game to the point to where we think it should have been. I mean, they've always had a smaller engine, and it's always been high winding, and it always seemed like it was the underdog. And I guess if you like being the underdog and proving people wrong, then you're a Ford kind of person. And me, I personally like being the underdog. When you can make that little 302 outrun a 350, I mean, embarrass a 350. They get mad. I don't get mad. You got more cubic inches than me. What are you mad for? That's like saying, okay, you got a 7-foot tall guy and a midget running a race. Who do you think's gonna win? Well, the 7-foot tall guy is gonna have the advantage unless you strap a rocket to the midget. Then that advantage took away. I'm just saying. You enhance the midget. Give him some tools to where he can run with the 7-foot tall guy or run faster. Then you got a race. That's pretty much what Ford did. They threw aftermarket support at the Pushrod engine, and it it grew. It's way more popular than what you got now. Now, granted, you got aftermarket support thrown at the 4-valve 5-liter. You know, got all kind of Whipples, superchargers, and turbos, and all kinds of that kind of thing that you can add to it to make it 1,000 horsepower, and then the block is already ready for boost, and you had all these things that made it great right out of the box. This is because, going back to my last discussion, remember where we discussed the hot rodders that they hired and put them on the team to build a better car, make it more viable, then people would want to buy it, and it would be successful, and it'd be exciting. Here we go. Fast forward to that. That's what you got now. So you got hot rodders saying, hey, why don't you make this thing boost ready? Why don't you put a set of pistons in it so if somebody wants to put a supercharger on it, it's already ready to go. All they got to do is change the injectors and put more fuel in it and get a tuner to tune it out so it'll push more air. It's ready to go. There you go. More bang for the buck. You spent less money. You didn't actually even have to pull the motor out and go through it. You could run 6 pounds of boost through it, or even 8 pounds of boost through it, and it would live. Yeah, you ain't doing that with no 2-valve. Granted, you do a little work to a 2-valve, it'll run. You know. And even the 2-valve, in my opinion, cammed, sounds better than whatever they got going now. Now, granted, I don't think it might just be the exhaust they're putting on it. And the thing about the car is I'm all about acceleration, and it's not about how loud it is. Now, loud doesn't equal fast. That's what my dad used to say. You know, we'd be at the drag strip, and these guys pull up with this 75 Camaro with a big 3/4 cam in it, and it's just talking away. And I'm like, man, I bet that thing's fast. Get up there, won't even turn the tires, but it's loud and it's talking. It's talking pretty good, but it ain't gonna do that. It wouldn't pull a string out of a greasy cat's butt, but it sounded like it would. This is what we got now. All right. Most of the Mustangs in this town, you can hear them 5 miles away. They're either running a straight pipe with no mufflers or the hollowed out muffler with nothing in it. There's just a case there, and it's just blow through. And when they crank it up, the cold start will wake a corpse in a graveyard. It's that loud. You know, they push the little button. And, you know, that whole thing is just, I'm not into that either. I think it's stupid. You know, push the whole button, and then it cranks up. Yeah, you know, they do all these things to make something seem impressive. You know what was impressive in my day? In my pop's day? Take your little metal key out, stick it in ignition, turn the car over, and it cranked up, and it was hitting a lick. I mean, it was talking. That's impressive. Not standing in your 3 balconies up, crank this thing up, and it's so loud, it wakes up everybody around, the whole hotel, everybody. Everybody's awake because it's so loud. Or wakes up the neighborhood. And if you live in an HOA, everybody hates you. Whether you're driving a Mustang or a Dodge Charger or Challenger that's been done the same way. With what is it? What did that guy have? He had some mufflers. They were boiler attacks. Oh my God. You talk about it. It's an attack on the eardrums. Literally. So the cars are loud. All right. They're just loud. I haven't seen anybody get on one and it was fast. It's just loud, and you can hear them coming from the other side of town. Let's back it up a bit. Fox body, 5-liter, Flowmasters, clean. Now, distinctive. Everyone knew When they heard that sound coming, they knew it was a Mustang. They knew it. Nothing else sounded like it. Nothing. Even without a cam. With those Flowmasters. 5-speed. Distinctive. There was not one person I know of that was like, man, I don't like the way that sounds. No, you like the way it sounds. Everybody did. Even if they didn't like Ford. They liked the way that little 5-liter sounded with those Flowmaster mufflers and those stainless steel 2.5-inch exhaust pipes hanging out the back. And there wasn't nothing in that era, not even your Monte Carlo Super Sport and your Z28 Camaros, not even your IROCs with those baffles in it. God, that thing sounded horrible. If they put some better mufflers on it, it probably would have sounded all right. And it sounded okay when it was sitting there idling, but as soon as you gunned it, it sounded like an expletive, and we'll leave that out. But it wasn't worth listening to. But back to the question at hand. Me, personally, I like the pushrod motor. And granted, I'll give you the Terminator. Terminator, cammed, nothing like it. But the Terminator and the new 5.0 ain't the same. Terminator's still 281 cubic inches. And even with cams, even if you stroked it, it's still got a completely different sound than the new 5.0 because this is a different architecture. The cam lobe is different. The cam lift is different. Everything about it is different. And even the mufflers that you put on the Terminator, it just sounded nasty. It just did. Now, granted, you cam the new car, and not ghost cam, because that just sounds really stupid. I mean, real cams. You know, you pull the heads and replace those cams with high lift comp cams or what, if they even make them. I mean, I'm not into that, so I dare say I would waste my time looking into it because it's probably more money than what I want to spend. And to achieve just that sound, I can do it with one cam. I can do it with one cam, and for a decent budget, it's gonna hit pretty hard. The right mufflers, the right tailpipes, it's on. And it ain't gonna make everybody mad when I crank it up in the morning, neither. Now, granted, if you've watched the channel and you've seen previous videos where I cranked it up in the driveway, it's fairly loud. And it had full mufflers and tailpipes all the way out the back. The American Thunder Flowmaster system, I don't even know if they still make that, but I bought it. And I haven't seen the one I bought, and I haven't even heard anybody riding around with it. Now, granted, there's still Fox bodies around here, but none of them are as loud as the car I'm running. Now, granted, once I put the motor back in it and do a little tuning to it, we'll see. We'll get it out, ride around, and see what's riding around. But most of the Fox bodies I've seen, they're all stock. Nobody's done any motor work to them, and a lot of people have actually gotten rid of their cars, and they just don't, not doing anything anymore. And it's hard to be, proactive when it's just you. So, the whole sound debate, me personally, it's going to be Pushrod. Pushrod 351 Windsor, 289, 302, 306, 331. Yeah, I think that if they, whoever's doing the sound, and see, there's somebody on the Mustang team who they go to and say, we want to make it sound a certain way. Okay? And all the videos I've watched of them doing sound tests, the GT350 and the R, they probably had the best sound because of the way the motor's configured. And it's not loud. Now, you can do track mode and it gets louder, but in car is where it's most insane. But the sound of that car isn't like the sound of a 5-liter with no mufflers on it. And I think they're losing a little bit of power because they ain't got no back pressure. I mean, I haven't really seen, you see a little Mexico videos where they're running and they're roll racing. It ain't from a dig. Now, granted, factory stock 5-liter, that's a screaming engine. Now, granted, that whoever's doing that and however they're doing it, the first gen motor and factory stock 5-liter racing with the seal motor, I don't know what they did to it, but that motor sounds decent. And it ain't because it's wide open or whatever they're doing. Whatever mufflers they put on them, it's the right muffler. Why are they not running that muffler on the street? That's what I want to know. Because when they rev it up, it sounds like it's supposed to. This garbage they got out here now, I don't know if they're running boiler attacks on their cars or some of these other what's that other warlocks or whatever they're going. I'm old, so I have to go look for this stuff. But yeah, the proverbial Flowmaster. Now I'm pretty sure Flowmaster makes a muffler for that Mustang. They always have. I mean, every Mustang that's came out, Flowmaster's made a muffler that fit that car. You can't tell me they don't make a decent one that makes that car sound good without it being obnoxious and seeming like it's just as slow as every other product that's out there. The Chevrolets, the Camaro SSs, the Z01s, whatever muffler they're running. And trust me, there was a guy coming to shop when I worked for General Motors, and he had literally just cut the mufflers off and ran a straight pipe right out the back of that Camaro. It was so loud and obnoxious, you just want to turn it off. There was nothing that sounded good about it. No cam, stock motor, just loud. It sounded horrible. If you're just all about being loud, that's what this generation is. These cars are just loud because they ain't fast. And you got to throw a lot of money at them to make them fast. But me personally, it's Pushrod. It'd be Pushrod, and I'm going to stick with Pushrod. And I don't know if I could get a decent deal on maybe an 11 model. I'd play around with it to see if I could get it to sound better than what I'm hearing. I mean, there's an aftermarket that's just a plethora of new mufflers and exhaust systems that's got to make that car sound better than what I've heard. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's just loud. I never see anybody get in them. I mean, they just crank it up and they're going down the road and they wind it all the way out. Wind first gear or second gear all the way out. And it's just ear splitting. The car ain't going nowhere. At least the Dodge boys, they don't hack theirs up too bad. But they don't sound much better. And then the Scat Pack, I seen a guy get on the Scat Pack and they wouldn't even break the wheels loose. It was loud. Wouldn't even break tires loose. Probably because the car's so heavy. That's another story though. But anyway, I'm all about the pushrod motor. I'm all about old school. So if we're gonna do Ford, it's gonna be pushrod motor with a carburetor. Yeah, fuel injection, and that's another discussion. I think it has its places in it, but I think if you're doing budget bills and you're not trying to spend $1,200 on a sniper or whatever the heck this garbage is they're trying to sell, and everybody's all about ease of running. All right. The first motor that was in that 65, it had a carburetor on it, 600 Demon. Now, granted, when I bought it, that's what was on it. I could go out there, put the key in it, pat the gas twice. 2 pats. Turn the key, it fired right up. So you got guys that complain about carburetors and that they don't just crank up and they have problems with them and they're cold-natured. And this could be anytime. I went out there in the wintertime and just pat it twice. It fired right up. Just boom, fire right up. Not even hesitate. Fire right up on the first hit. So that's another discussion. Carburetors and fuel injection. I'll stick with the carburetor. I like the way it sounds. I like the way it's easy to tune it, take it apart. I like the old ways, the simplistic ways. So that's why the pushrod motor will always be the go-to for me. Granted, I know you can put a carburetor, and I've seen it done on the modular motors. They have intakes where you can put a carburetor on them and that kind of thing. It just don't sound the same. It's just not the same sound. And that's fine. Some people, they like the way it sounds. And it ain't even about it. If you compared it, well, let's say you were going to give them a ride in your car, and it had a 347 stroker in it with a 600-700 lift roller cam in it, and it's going to be impressive. Compare that to a street car that doesn't sound nowhere near that, and with mufflers. You put mufflers on it, and it's the popcorn is popping, son. Popcorn is popping. You're not getting that. Even with the 4-valve Terminators, cammed, the right mufflers, popcorn is popping, son. I've yet to hear a newer 5-liter do that. But see, now it ain't even about the cam. They're all about putting a supercharger on it and getting 810 horsepower stock. And that's great. Big numbers don't really do you any good if the car stays broke. What good is 800 horsepower? And you're going to beat on it, it's going to break something. Number one, it wasn't meant to do all that. The numbers is what gets you, and we'll talk about that in another video as far as what looks good on paper. All looks good on paper. 797 horsepower red eye looks good on paper. 1,000 horsepower Shelby red eye sounds good on paper. But tests have shown that some of these cars, they don't put out like you would expect. That's another discussion, though. This one was about pushrod versus the modular. The new 5-liter versus the old over here. Old guy, old motor, old technology. I don't think it's best. I just think that's what I like the best. What's best is whatever you like and whatever you can afford and whatever you can afford to fix or modify is what's best for you. If you like that, you're gonna like that new style stuff. And the new style stuff they come out with. Me, I don't like it. I don't like the way it sounds. I don't like the fact that it costs double or triple whatever it costs. I can build a motor that sounds twice as good and get more attention just rolling up, idling, than somebody rolling down the street making all that racket and ain't going nowhere. As I guarantee you, when I put the pedal on the metal, it's going to take off. It's going to take off. And it ain't going to be like, okay, I put my foot in it, and it's so loud, it looks like it's taking forever for it to get anywhere, but it's loud. That's what it looks like it's in slow-mo. But it is what it is. That's what you got today. It's probably because it's drive-by-wire, but, there's a whole lot of factors in what I think that they do to cars, and I just think the old ones are better, so we're going to stick with the old stuff. If you like the new stuff, more power to you. I think it's made as well, and I think that it could be improved if they got some real hot rodders, not just pick their brains and then add a few things to try to get people's attention, get them to pay for it, and then it's under-engineered or at some point over-engineered to where it either doesn't quite meet the mark or it's underpowered, but it sounds a certain way. Either way. Your take on it. Like I said, leave the comments. If you have any on what you think about new age versus old age, which as far as sound, we don't even need to talk about reliability, because you know what? If you can build a motor like for instance, my pop drove this 67 Firebird with a 396 in it for 20 years. That's not reliable? You can build a reliable car. It ain't got to be a new car. And he drove that car to work. He drove that car 30 miles every day or more. So you be the judge. Leave a comment. I'll catch you on the next video. Keep between the ditches.